hear from him today.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Yahweh. Hello everyone, I'm Thien and I'm from Shopee Web Frontend team. And today I will share a short talk about ReasonML. The reason why I would like to share about this is that, like in frontend, especially in the web, every year we have a new thing coming. So this year I went to Europe and actually, to be honest, like 50% of the talks in Europe this year were about ReasonML and how you integrate ReasonML with the system. So that's why I think it's like a good chance for me to introduce you guys very quickly about ReasonML and how can we use ReasonML to write our React component. So again, what is ReasonML? Actually, this is not a new thing. It's just a new syntax that they borrow lots of semantics from OCaml, and there's a way to combine it to JavaScript. So Facebook adapted this and they create a way to use OCaml syntax and write a front-end component. ReasonML is now backed by Facebook and Bloomberg, and they use in production for the messenger.com. So how ReasonML works? As I mentioned previously, ReasonML is not a new thing. It just borrows some old syntax from OCaml with a very solid background, solid history, and most of the ReasonML syntax comes from OCaml, and thanks to a compiler, BuckleScript. BuckleScript is a compiler. It will compile our ReasonML code to JavaScript, and thanks to that, we can run it on the web. The power of OCaml is that we can not only compile ReasonML syntax to JavaScript, but you can also compile it to native code. It means that you can use that to write React Native code for Android or iOS. So why do we have to learn a new thing? ReasonML. We have lots of ways to write front-end component already. So currently, like Shopee is using React.js to build a front end, and the issue that we see is that JavaScript doesn't have the type, static type, so we have to use TypeFlow, and some opinion says that flow type is just using flow type with JavaScript. It's just like you are patching something. So why don't you start with something with a type system at the beginning?
You said that, right?
No. Some guys in React Europe conference. So ReasonML has 100% type coverage. And okay, so you can say that I can have type coverage with flow type. Yeah. But in ReasonML, the type will be inferred, can be inferred. It means that you declare once, and it can be inferred in other components. And the soundness means that once it compiles, right, the type is guaranteed to be exact. And ReasonML has some cool things about functional programming is the immutable, and it's not has lots of principles of functional programming, but not 100%, yeah, but not fully functional programming. And last but not least, ReasonML is backed on OCaml. So OCaml is famous for performance and the bundle size. So actually, it's like ReasonML has high performance, and the bundle size is I haven't expected to launch app first, but it's to some articles and resources like it's significantly small. So what is the relation between ReasonML and React? Actually, I'll tell you a story is that initially the creator of React, he developed the prototype in standard ML, which is a cousin of OCaml. Later, he moved the prototype to OCaml, but it was like back to 2013 or 2014, and at that time, like everything is living on the web was written in JavaScript. So if at that time he says that, okay, I will suggest you guys a new way to write web UI in OCaml, then nobody will use it. So that's why later they decide to move React to JS. That's why, and since then, right, React is binding to React.js. So things changed. In 2016, Bloomberg open source developed BuckleScript and open source it. BuckleScript is a compiler that can compile OCaml code to JavaScript. And it was a time, right, Facebook also see that, and they choose to develop ReasonML and Reason React as a wrapper to use React in ReasonML. So because React was initially developed in functional programming language, that's why you can see that React.js has lots of principles of functional programming principle. Let's say immutability for the props and state, right? You never mutate it directly. You have to call some function. Let's say and redux. You don't change the state of the reducer, the store directly, but you just use a function, the reducer, to change it. And React.js initially it has the prop type, right? So it has some type system. So that we can say that, right, React.js it's more closer to functional programming than just JavaScript. That's why ReasonML could be a perfect fit with React.js. So the next part of the talk, I will share some highlight about ReasonML syntax, and later on, and how to use ReasonML syntax with Reason React to write simple web app. And at the end of the talk, right, I will share some my personal opinion about Reason React and the future of ReasonML. So we have the let bindings in ReasonML, nothing new. To declare the variable, you use a let. It's quite similar to AS6, and it has a scope, right? When you declare the variable in the scope, you cannot use it outside. This is quite standard compared to other programming languages. And the new thing about ReasonML, if you come from JavaScript, is that you don't have a definition of object. You have what we call it record, and a record. And let's say, right, I declare a record. It has some attributes, and these attributes are immutable by default. So if you want to tell that a field is mutable, you just, when you declare it, right, you put mutate keyword so that later you can mutate it. Function is very similar to ES6. You can just use the arrow. The arrow is similar to arrow function. Is why you just like list of attributes and arrow and your actual function. The only new thing is that you don't have the return statement in ReasonML. As long as this one comes from OCaml. OCaml function doesn't have the return statement. It just use the last expression in your function and return that value. It means that you don't have a return, and if you want to early return something, you have to use the pattern matching. I will cover later. So this is also a new thing, is that the variant and pattern matching. So the variant is just like something similar to the enum in other programming languages, but it's not just the enum. It can be a constructor. Let's say, right, imagine the case that you fetch the API, you fetch data from some API and you pass it. Then can be two scenarios. The response is null, or it can be an array of some string. That's why you can declare that response, API response, as this variant. The variant is either none or some array of strings. So let's say, right, in this case, I have the response and this is an array of string, and I have use a switch statement this to match it, because like I declare the type variant already, so I can know that there are only two scenarios. is a non or sum array, and here I have sum array here. I can extract the inside part, and this one from in the JSLog function here, it's just like console log. It just log the value out on the screen. From here, I can guarantee that my string array is actually an array of some strings. I think it's more beautiful because like it will help you to cover all the cases, and you will not miss the case. Most of the time in JavaScript, right, we miss a case, and later on the code will be broken. And another nice thing about ReasonML is the module. So you will not have the import or export in ReasonML. Every file is a module, and it's global. You don't need to import or export. Yeah, you just use it. And if you want to, in the same file, if you want to define your own module, then you can just use a module keyword and the name, and you can put whatever inside a file into that scope. Okay, it's quite a quick overview about ReasonML syntax. It's more or less if you come from JavaScript ES6, you will feel it's quite familiar. So next part I will cover about Reason React. How can okay yeah.
Can I ask questions?
Yes.
Okay, can you go back to modules?
Yes.
What does this school module mean? Does this mean profession, this variable profession is not reachable outside this module?
Yes, it defines the scope. And
okay, so how are you going to import this?
Yeah, because
it's like you want to reach for profession or some function
yes.
in this module. How are you going to do it?
You just use school.profession from outside. It's like the namespace in other languages. Yeah. Yes. I was surprised at the beginning too.
So can we do the code splitting with this one?
I haven't tried yet. There should be a way.
It's a global.
There should be a way. No, because like at the end, this will be compiled to JavaScript, and I will show you later how you use it with Webpack. So show it. Just be patient. I know that you have lots of questions. So to write React component in ReasonML, Facebook create this wrapper named Reason React. So I will show you here. I have some terminals here. It's quite complicated, I know, but so and let me explain this. This is the app that I will show you. It's just a simple app that it will fetch the data, the hot topics from Reddit, and just render the list of article. This is what we are going to build.
Wow, so sad.
There's some issue with the data. I don't know the schema, so I don't pass it correctly. Okay, yeah, just this is not hard code. I fetched from some API. This is yeah. Okay, so assume that this is the final app that we want to build, right? So how we start with it? Okay, the first step. This is the very basic project structure. It's just like I include the package JSON, the Webpack config, right? The new thing is that you have to declare the BS config. This is the Docker script config to tell Docker script how to compile your ReasonML code.
Okay, so we can zoom.
Yeah. See? So just the Webpack, right? And this is
Scroll down a bit.
just normal one. Okay. So the syntax for this is the BS config. I will skip lots of things. That the most important thing is the BS dependency is Reason React. Just tell Docker script that you are going to write a React component. So the extension for ReasonML is .re. So we have the index.re here. It looks like magic, but at the end is that the end result is that with this Butco script, and I have to run some command, right? Here, like okay.
It's too small.
It's better.
Yes, clean, right?
Yeah, BS clean. I will clean it first. So, yes. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Okay, so with our BS at the beginning, right, you can just write something like this. It's just like render to element ID, similar to React, and this is your main app. The BS raw is that the percentage BS raw is a nice syntax in ReasonML to let you require raw data. Maybe it can be JavaScript. Yeah. The nice thing about ReasonML is that you can call JavaScript inside the ReasonML code base.
So that means the things in the raw, it's the
JavaScript.
It's
Yeah.
the JavaScript.
Yes. I just require this. I just require style sheet file like this. So it's nice, right? And so to start off, right, you have to compile it, run Butco script. So yes, sorry. Okay, the compiler will compile every file and create a .gs file next to your source code. Something like this. This just pure JavaScript. So okay, now is how our current app look like. Just say the hello. Simple one. So how to create, right? There are two types of component in Reason React is the stateless component and a normal component. So you have to use this syntax, let component equal to Reason React and stateless component here, and we don't have class here. It's functional programming. So it's the make function. Its compulsory name is to create a new component, and this will be exported. So this is the list of this function will take a list of attributes. The first take the props. These are the props, and the last attribute will be the children of this component. So you use a spread template like component, and you override the function inside here. Like I want to override the render function. The render function will have the self. This is similar to this in JavaScript. Yeah. So you want to access the state, right? Self.state, something like that. So that's how you create a simple one. So now our app is that we have a nice hello world. Let me try to zoom in. Okay. Okay. So next. The special thing about the render function is that unlike React.js, they have the strict type that you have to return in the render function. There are only 4 types. Either it's a valid reason React component, or is it null, or a string, or an array. Yeah, it's quite strict. So it means that in my code base here, right, I want to render a string. I cannot just put that string directly. I have to convert my string to Reason React string. So I have to call Reason React.string and then pass my string inside. So next thing is that we have the state, the action, and the reducer. This definition is similar to Redux, but the difference is that your component will have the state. It's similar to JavaScript, React.js state, but the only difference here is that you cannot you cannot change the state directly. You have to use an action, dispatch an action to change the state. And in your function, you have a special function named reducer. It will catch on the action and update the state. So it means that I go to the next step. Okay, this is the next step. So we will add more state to our component. So to do that, right, you have to modify it. You have to declare the state, the type of state, and the type of your action of this component before the make function. So you have to keep this order. So you create component by call reducer component, and you have to declare initial state and declare the reducer. Otherwise, Bubble script will complain. You have no state and you are trying to create a reducer component. So this one is more or less the same, similar to Redux. I think most of us will be familiar with this syntax. So this is how can we dispatch an action. Let's say I have a button here. I will dispatch an on click event. I send some event here like action A. Yeah, that's why in the render function you will have the self dot send will it's similar to store dot dispatch in Redux. See how demo here. So let's say right, I fetch. I have a list of data and I have to select it. So this is how the code look like. So I have a picker. It will resend the value and the options like an on change. So what it does is that on the select function, you do is that the on change, I have an event, right? And I just get dispatch the action. It's the props. But what is this one? This one is passed from outside. This is here. The on change is it get something and it calls self.send and the constructor here. And let's say this is change selected subreddit, right? And I have to catch it somewhere. I catch it here in my reducer, and I call reason react.update to update the state. It's more or less the same like React.js, but and next thing is the update reason react.update, and you update the state. But sometimes you don't want to update the state. You want to dispatch something else. It's called side effects. It means that you don't change the state, and you combine the update and side effect to update with side effects. You update the state and it receive another callback to do some side effects. So currently, right, you can select something and change, but the app is not useful yet. So the next thing I will do is the life cycle of ReasonML component is you have dig mount, we receive props, should update, will update, dig update, and will unmount, similar to React.js. So an event, the Reason React event will be mapped to React.js synthetic events. So let's say I have input here, right, and I want to listen to the on change event. I will just pass the event and I can extract the value here. This is equivalent to event.target.value in React.js. So okay, so the next thing is that now you can build some, let's see, okay, now you can have we have an app that you can have a drop down. You can select the topic from Reddit, and when you select it will change. And next thing is that we want to fetch the API. How can we call API in this Reason React? So you have to okay. So to fetch API, right, we have to install some external dependencies. It's the bs fetch and the bs JSON. The bs fetch is just a wrapper for the fetch API in JavaScript, and the bs JSON is JSON decoder library for Bubble script. So to include that, right, remember your bs config.json here. Previously you add Reason React. Now you add two more, the BS fetch and the BS JSON. So, okay, first one I would say about the fetch API first. How can you fetch API? You just put it in a JS promise to create a promise, and you call fetch. And the difference here is, the new thing here is that you have to decode your response. In JavaScript, right, you can just like respond.json, a function. They have a nice function that will map that to the JavaScript object for you. But in ReasonML, you are not allowed to do that. You have to declare your schema. So let's say this one is quite difficult to follow, so I will go slowly. So let's say this object is my API response. I have a JSON file with a user. User have an ID and a name. So I need to pass it, right? I need to pass it and convert it to an object. So I have to declare the schema for it. I have to declare the type user with the ID, integer, and the name is a string. And later on, right, and once I declare like this on my Reason React component, it will infer the type from this schema. So you have a type set guarantee without declaring anything. So let's say, right, this is I receive the data, I have a JSON, and I call JSON.decode. And I pass it, just pass it. Is the field here is the JSON.decode. It will get the field ID of this JSON object and map it, convert it to string. Something like that. It's quite similar to Java, I guess. You declare the schema and you pass it manually. So it's how we do here. In my app, right, I write a very simple schema. The subreddit data is just an array of string. I declare the type here, and I pass it. API decode. I pass it here. Just subreddit. I get that the field subreddit names, and I map it to array of string. So it is super clean. You have type, clear type here, and now back to your question. Tiger's question is that every file in ReasonML is a module, right? So how can you use it? So let's say I have the Reddit API module here. When I want to use it, I just include it here. To avoid it, it's open it, and from now I can use all the function and the attribute in that file. It's like the namespace.
The Reddit API is a file name, right?
Yes, it's a file name is a module name.
What if you have two files in different folders?
Can be do, but you can create a parent wrapper, but two parent wrapper have to have different name, and you require this module inside that, and you just require the parent wrapper.
Okay, actually, then I mean, in your app folder, there's the same file name is not allowed, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not
exactly.
allowed to have two files.
Yeah. Exactly. Then we will have discussed that part at the end, I guess. Am I running out of time? So it's just like that, right? And now how can I do that? Yeah, in my app, right, what I add here is I fetch the data, the Reddit post, and I pass it. I declare schema here, and I pass it. So that's now what I have. Not very nice, but still I haven't polished this yet. I just receive a list of posts, Reddit posts, and I pass it to my schema and I render it here. So this one is just an overview, so I have to stop the Reason React part here. So what is the limitation of ReasonML? So it's just, these things are just my personal opinion, because I try it. I come from the JavaScript world and I try something new and quite restricted. So the first thing is that you cannot use high order component in ReasonML. The main reason is that this operator is not allowed. The spreading is not allowed. It's not a valid syntax in ReasonML. So you cannot write high order component. So
But you can fetch all the arguments and pass it down.
yes,
You have a workaround.
yes, you can use random props.
Oh, I mean, to fetch all the arguments of a function. No
Yeah,
matter how long is it?
yeah.
Is it doable in?
Yeah, you can do, but but the idea of high order component is that it must be generic, right? You don't care about the children's problem.
Yes.
It's quite. But I search around, people don't use high order component in ReasonML. They just use random props. And luckily, most of our high order component can be converted to random props easily, so it's not a big deal. Next thing is that no redux. Everything must be local to the component. This may be controversial, but I think is that Redux solve lots of problems by the global scope, but it's always global, and is it a good thing? So I don't really hate global scope, but maybe like we should consider what should be global and what should be local. I also don't like that something like everything must be local like this. And because ReasonML need Reason React wrapper, so currently for the latest Reason React, you don't have the new context API in React 16. So if you want to use it, you will not have the latest features. But the good thing is that ReasonML is also developed by Facebook, so we have to trust that they will maintain Reason React. Yeah. Another thing that
Who maintain the Reason React?
the same team, the creator of React.js also worked on this. He's created ReasonML and
Are
Reason
you
React.
going to like port hooks on the
I don't know. So on next slide, I will explain why that we can believe the future of Reason React and ReasonML. Another thing that I don't like about ReasonML is lack of styling. I try to use SSS in my project, but cannot. And I search around. They just simply don't use it. They use CSS in GS. They recommend it. They recommend to use it. The inline CSS or CSS in ReasonML, not CSS in GS. So that's why I believe that ReasonML is a future, has a long-term future, because like Messenger.com is using Reason React. Last year, September 2017, they say there's an announcement that 50% of the code base of Messenger was converted to Reason. And I'm not sure about the number now because they don't share about that, but they claim that after the conversion, they only received 10 bucks.
So if they don't convert, they don't have any bug.
No. The argument is that they receive the weekly bugs, right? And after that, they only since they port 50% of code base to ReasonML, they only receive 10 bucks for the whole year. So actually, it's like, okay, I will be very honest with you guys, is that cannot trust everything you read on the internet or a blog post, right? It's just an advertisement. So I'm so also curious, is that it's caused because ReasonML is good, or because when they rewrite, they have better understanding of the code base and better structure, so that they have less bugs. I don't know. It's still a point. 10 bucks in 1 year is still a significant achievement. And they say that Messenger is a huge app. The review takes less than 2 seconds. For this one, I cannot verify. I don't know. So, is ReasonML ready? Actually, it's ready, and it's used for production in Messenger and Facebook. They don't tell about the percentage in Facebook app, but they say that it's used a lot, and they share the component with Messenger. So, personally, I think that if you ask me that, should we convert Shopee to ReasonML? The answer is no. Because we have a very huge code base and lots of interaction between the component and the legacy thing. But if because we are coming with a monorepo and the idea package, maybe if we have new feature as a separate package that it does not interact a lot with other component, we can give this a try. Yeah, that's and currently the community is strong, but I think we still have way for more and more companies, big companies, to use it and to test it before we really want to give it a try or not. Maybe I think next 1 or 2 years. But the point is that the purpose of this talk is not to convince us to use it, but just I want to provide a new thing, a different angle. They're like, you think that React is binded to JavaScript? It's not true. It's initially created with functional programming. So maybe like give it a try. Let's say, like, imagine that if like 5 years ago, React come up with something very weird, like they with the JSX, right? You inline the HTML inside CSS, which is a very weird thing at that time. And at the first time I used it, oh, what is it? I don't need this. It's so weird. But gradually, we use it every day and see it's normal. So maybe lots of concept here I present here very weird to most of us, but I still maybe like next 2 or 3 years it will be the future, and just keep an eye and wait for the change. Either you are the world is changing very fast. Either you are part of it or you're left behind. So keep an eye and maybe give it a try. Maybe your personal project and something. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks a lot for your attention.